Hey, it's Chuck from Jockey Machine. Just want to give everybody a quick update on the progress of the CB550. As for the exhaust, got the Delkevic exhaust all nicely tidied up on there with all new brackets and exhaust gaskets. So here the Brembo rear brake is mounted, and the Ducati rear rotor has been added to the Cognito Moto rear hub. Race spools to put it up on a paddock race jack. Shocks, everything installed back here. Made a little custom mount here for the main starter solenoid. So this has main fuses already in it. Put a nice little plug attached to it. These whole starter solenoid with the main fuse comes from Revival Cycle. It's a really nice little unit. On one post up here, you're putting power to the starter. This is main power coming from your battery, which goes into a fuse. And then this is mostly ground power and signal going back to the M unit. This is coming over from the rectifier and regulator, which is on the other side of the bike. I wanted to make it so that this was accessible. The fuses were accessible by pulling the panel off and having real easy access to it. And then on the other side, I have the same thing, made a couple brackets to mount the rectifier, so that way it's real easy just to pull the panel and get to that. As well as mounting the rear brake master cylinder in here the other day with a custom bracket that I made. And then this would be our brake sensor that is hydraulic rather than mechanical. And I got a buddy that's going to print me a very nice mount for the reservoir. So that should be coming soon. Bars all wired up finally. We've got our Mo switches on both sides, 3 on one side, 2 on the other. Perches are finalized. Got our brake switches mounted and wired. And then everything comes between at the base of the bars here, LEDs and all that good stuff. The M button is installed and now has a single green wire that's going to go back to the Mo unit, or the M unit, and that will take care of all of our communications from our bar switches, lights, and all that good stuff. Been trying to figure out which are ground and which are what, which is why I got my documentation taped to the front here for my LEDs. Under the seat, got the anti-gravity battery mounted, a big beefy power supply that's going down to the main fuse and starter solenoid. This comes back from the starter solenoid, and we're going to be putting power, ground, and these 2 wires with the very nice crimped edges will be going into the M unit. So that's kind of where we sit right now. It's been slow going for me because I'm new to wiring. The old Triumphs that I do, I usually use magnetos, which are fantastic. You don't have to worry about all this stuff. My wiring harnesses for Triumphs are very simplistic. It just runs straight off of a titanium rectifier and regulator and from the stator, and I just use that to power the lights, whereas everything else is done straight from the magneto to run the bike. I've also learned that the Moto Gadget gear, such as the Mo button, when you hook everything up on the bars, I don't believe, or I haven't found a way to actually go through and test everything. Using a voltmeter or anything like that to see if the switch is closed or open when you hit the buttons and to see if any power is flowing through it. So I'm gonna have to pretty much wire this thing up, get the M unit set up, and then start going and troubleshooting gremlins. But as for mechanically, everything's done. We got the exhaust on. I got the carbs all set up. Shifter is all set. Braking systems are all set. I do have to measure out my brake lines, which I will do a tutorial on how to do that and the best way to do that. But really, this is just going to be a couple more weeks of sheer pain for me to complete the wiring. I've also found that since I'm a one-man shop and trying to take these videos while doing the wiring, there's going to be a lot of narration and you know, pictures and things like that. I actually believe I think I'm probably going to break up those videos into different parts, one being the bars and where I did that, and then moving back the bike to points, ignition, and finally to the electronics tray under the seat with power, starter solenoid, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned, subscribe, leave comments, let me know, you know, some of the problems you've seen while using some of these components, or what you found on your bike when wiring it up, and best case and best practice for doing that sort of thing. But stay tuned, we'll have more shortly.